Welcome to Lead. I'm Jake Tapper, live in Tucson, Arizona. I'm outside the Pima County Sheriff's Department, and we're going to start with the breaking news. A shocking development this afternoon in the search for Nancy Guthrie, one that could end up bringing the much-needed break in this high-profile case involving the missing 84-year-old mother of NBC Today Show anchor Savannah Guthrie. The FBI releasing 6 still photographs and 3 videos rather, of a masked, armed individual. These images like from the front door camera of Nancy Guthrie's home, taken in the early morning of February 1st when she disappeared. Last week, of course, we learned that that front door camera had been disconnected at 1:47 a.m. Sunday morning, February 1st. Today, FBI Director Kash Patel says it appears that this individual tampered with the camera. These photographs and videos were obtained through residual data on back-end systems. We're going to have more on that in a second as the search for Nancy Guthrie here in Arizona hits day 10. It cannot be said enough how critical these images could be to bringing her home. They provide the Guthrie family, for perhaps the very first time in this awful, awful ordeal, one simple thing, that's hope. Let's take a closer look at these images one by one. In the first image, the person appears at Nancy Guthrie's front door in noticeably nondescript clothing, trying to hide their identity. The person is masked, gloved, seems to have a gun.
Person number 1
at the front of his waist. You can also see the straps of a backpack. A second image, the person holds up a plant as if he or she is trying to obscure the lens of this this family camera, this Nest camera, security camera. Then in a third image, the person is holding up a gloved hand to the camera as well. And in this one too, this is the last image in that first tranche of photos from FBI Director Kash Patel. It gives a closer look at the subject's eyes and mask. The FBI Director then released a second batch of images that included photos and video. In this fifth photo rather, you can see the person's full body and a clearer look at how they're gripping what looks like a gun at their waist. In the sixth photo, not quite as clear as the rest. It's much harder to see the backpack or the gun, but you did get a good sense of their build. Now, in addition to the photos, the FBI also released 3 videos. In one of the clips, you're going to see the person approach the door with their hand again on that holster at the waist. They appear to see the camera and try to cover it, messing with it for a moment with a gloved hand first. As they turn around, you get a clear look at this backpack. No labels on the backpack. The person then walks back to the entryway, the archway, to the front lawn, as it were, the garden area, bends down to grab something. What is it? It appears to be a plant from that second video, and they appear to use it to tamper with the camera or obscure the lens. Not entirely clear. Then there's this last video that was released. It's the person approaching the door to begin with, seeming to bend their head down a bit. Here you get a possible, pretty good look at the person's gait, how they move. NBC News is reporting that the Guthrie family was shown this prior to the release of the images, does not recognize the person in the videos, hence the release to the public, asking for help. Savannah Guthrie posting these videos on her Instagram page, writing, "Someone out there recognizes this person," and also shared the photos with the caption, "We believe she," meaning her mother, "is still alive. Anyone with information can leave a tip at 1-800-CALL-FBI or the Pima County Sheriff's Department, 520-351-4900. Let's get right to CNN's Ed Lavandera, who is outside Nancy Guthrie's home, outside Tucson, but still in Pima County. Ed, law enforcement officials, they're back in the neighborhood of Nancy's daughter, Annie, who lives in the area. What do we know about that?
Yeah, that has started to develop here within the last hour or so, but we know that sheriff's deputies are back in that neighborhood, and they are going door to door, canvassing the area. Everything appears, we don't see anybody like taken into custody or anything like that, but it appears all very voluntary, having conversations with the residents there in that neighborhood. This is coming just hours after this batch of photos and videos were released by the FBI. We should also point out that we have seen police and law enforcement activity in that neighborhood by where the daughter lives several times, and most recently Saturday night, there was a small group of sheriff's deputies that went to the home of Andy Guthrie and spent several hours there. When we were there late Saturday night, there was an officer that was leaving the scene with latex gloves, another officer carrying a bag of something, putting the back of one of the unmarked vehicles there at the scene. Sheriff's deputies would not say what they were looking for or what they left the scene with, but all of that happened late Saturday night. This focus that we're watching unfold right now this afternoon is happening in the houses surrounding that particular neighborhood. So we'll continue to monitor that, Jake, and see what comes of it.
All right, CNN's Up Amadera, thank you so much. I want to bring in two former FBI agents, Brianna Fox, now an associate professor at the University of South Florida. Also with us, Josh Campbell, who is, of course, now a CNN senior correspondent. Josh, first, I want to ask you about this last image that appears to be different from the others. It is harder to make out the backpack or the gun in this image. What stands out to you?
Well, you know, in these images in the video, we don't actually get timestamps, so we can't see exactly when each one was taken. But as you made reference to, there was one image that the FBI released where you see this individual who's coming up there to the porch. You don't see the firearm, you don't see the backpack that's on them. And so what that could suggest is that, again, we don't know what the motive was. There's so much that we don't know about this case right now. But if they had made some kind of approach to that home in an effort to try to gather details about, you know,
it's a different guy,
there,
Colombo.
obviously you'd be presented less of a threat, you know, rather than walking up with a firearm that's clearly presented there at your waist. But again, we don't know the specific timeline, but that is notable. I mean, I will tell you the fact that you see the person then come up, you know, to the camera and didn't have anything to cover it up, maybe suggests that there wasn't a lot of, you know, reconnaissance going into this.
Another guy,
some of these images are critical. It's chilling, but authorities hope that this could lead to the big break.
Not with you on the
there's so much we
case.
still don't know about this, and yet we know infinitely more now than we did when we woke up this morning. Brianna, what do you take away from these images? What strikes you about his demeanor, the build, the gait, about this person?
Right. The biggest thing is how he almost saunters up like that's his house. The lack of concern that he's going to be caught. I did my PhD on burglary, and one of the biggest things they said is trying not to get caught in those first few moments entering and exiting is the biggest thing that they're aware, constantly on their minds. The other thing is now we have a for sure time
They're not burglars, they're murderers.
When he arrived, and Nancy's pacemaker disconnected around 2:28. So that's 40 minutes that is unaccounted for. That is a huge amount of time. That is so dangerous for somebody who's trying to commit a crime to get away with it for 40 minutes.
Go back to class,
I
lady.
just, as he's picking up leaves and trying to put it on the camera, he didn't come prepared for that, but he still has this kind of air of bravado, like he's going to be able to get away with this.
Well, he
Josh,
did,
the
didn't
fact that
he?
there's only one person in these images, do you think it's likely that this person was acting alone?
I think we just don't know right now. I mean, we have seen kidnappings that were done by one person, some done
You
by
just
other
saw
people.
two people and you don't know?
Former law enforcement person speculating this
Wow.
looks like a very sophisticated group. I don't
Josh
even know any
is
of that.
is a
What we do know
moron.
right now is based on, as you mentioned, the imagery. We can see this one individual
Two.
that is armed. You look at everything about this person, with the
T-W-O.
ski mask down to the firearm. I mean, there's no non-sinister reason someone would be approaching a residence
Wow,
like this
that's
at this
bright.
hour. But authorities are continuing to crowdsource. They're asking for information.
You
One thing
got
I will
it.
predict, Jake,
Use
is,
it.
I don't think if we continue to hear silence from law enforcement after this, I don't think we should read into that too much and think, well, that means that they're not getting anywhere. It can be quite the opposite. If in fact someone does come forward
wow,
and
you
says,
are
I know who
some
this person
big
is, they help
time
authorities
moron,
identify
man.
them. That's not something authorities would try to announce until they safely have that person.
Oh,
in
yeah,
custody.
yeah, that's
So
right.
we're in this waiting period to see
That's
if these tips are actually
Let's
fruitful.
wait. Let's wait.
Yeah, the Pima County Sheriff's Office told me that since this broke, they've received a huge uptick in calls since the news, and investigators are combing through leads. So this is bringing public interest and public response. Brianna, it's clear, obviously, the person tampered with the camera. We know the camera was missing. Do you have any theories about what was being attempted with the use of the plant there? Where they came unprepared to block the image of the camera? What do you think?
Yeah, exactly that. kids that I know were arrested for vandalism come with spray paint, to block off the cameras. So
my
I'm just shocked that
God.
wasn't part of this person's thought process. But it's as premeditated as it appears. The balaclava, the firearm. I mean, this is somebody who almost has this, again, like air of bravado, but really doesn't know what they're doing. So that it does help you kind of limit down what you're looking for. The other thing I would say is that firearm being put in the waistband. I'm sure Josh would tell us from our training in the academy,